Hello, my name is Nick Smith. Welcome to Field Stories. I have my co-host Chris here, and then we also have a very special guest who Chris is going to introduce now. So I'll hand it over.
Hey, Nick. Thank you for that. So some of the viewers who saw the first episode might be wondering why we have a guest on already at the beginning of the episode, because I think the plan was we were supposed to just chat and kind of be cool with each other at the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing, but it's not just going to be the two of us anymore because we've decided to add another co-host because, hey, three is better than two. So welcome to the show, Michela, as a new co-host. So basically how this came to be quickly, Michela and me are friends, and maybe you can explain how that is. She hasn't met me in person yet, so this may all break apart when she finally meets me in person. Basically, I was chatting to her because I wanted her to be a guest, and she was like, wow, I really want to do a podcast about things that happen that are cool in the field, And I was like, that's exactly what me and Nick are doing. So this is just ridiculous. Why don't we just join forces, bring all the continents together, So, that's how it came to be. So go ahead, Michela. Why don't you add whatever you'd like to add as your first official act as a co-host on Field Stories?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm really excited to be on this and to be participating as a co-host and just to learn more about other people and just to kind of catch up with you guys, especially as we all live on two, to three different continents, which is pretty crazy. So coordinating all of this has obviously been fun. It's been a great time. And so I'm really happy to bring the humor to the show and obviously the blonde looks. But what can I say? But yeah.
If you change the hair color, we may have to talk.
I know, that's what a lot of people have told me. The unfortunate fact is it's not real. It's all fake. It's a lie. But no, I'm really excited to be here again. I met Chris. I think I was like stalking your Instagram and I was like, I like what this guy does. And I want to know more about what he does. So we just started chatting, and because I was asking him about opportunities, and then he became the person I bitch to probably once a week about life, and mostly about life in the field as a biologist, as we all know, one way or another. And then, I just started messaging him, and I was like, I have a great idea about a podcast, but I don't really have anyone to do this with. And then he took my idea, and he's like, this was mine all along. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty funny. That's odd.
It's exactly how it happened. Exactly. And also, I wouldn't worry about the fake hair color because Nick's accent is fake as well. So
I knew it.
Okay.
I knew it.
Totally
You're
fake.
Canadian too, aren't you, Nick?
Yeah. Fall off the camera.
But no, it's good.
Well, all right. So I guess
that's cool. We're really excited. So now there's going to be three of us. So more entertainment, more things to do. So so great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. So I guess normally then in the normal flow of an episode, this would be the time where we would kind of check in where everybody is, because being that we all are in different places in our lives and often literally different places, like different geographic places, it's a nice chance to check in and see where we're all at. So I guess I'll get it started. I am living the dream here in the Amazon. It is currently in shade around 30, 34 today. So it's a cool day. Celsius, not Fahrenheit, Celsius for those American viewers who don't understand how to tell temperature. And it's in the sun around 40 Celsius, 99% humidity. So I've got as Michela said, I've got a beautiful, shiny, sweaty gleam on me here. Just got back from 7 hours in the field in brutal heat, working with birds. And somehow going to try and stay awake to this podcast. So you guys have to be entertaining. Otherwise I might just fall asleep. So that's where I am, here in the lovely Amazon rainforest of Peru. So on to you, Michela. Go ahead. Where are you right now?
I'm in Michigan right now, and it is a nice brisk 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Couldn't tell you what it is Celsius, maybe like 19. I don't know if that sounds right. Something like that. I'm doing my Canadian heritage justice right now. And it's nice and sunny. I have been just kind of chilling this weekend. Last week we've been kind of finishing up. So I work at the zoo, but we're finishing up some box turtle stuff, which I can talk about a little bit later. And I've been just enjoying my morning coffee. Oh, it's 2:28. Soon a beer, it'll transition. And just hanging out with you two chums. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, my life is I'm basically hibernating till April. I don't do winter. It's not for me. the only way of coping is by going out, and I've been going out too much. So that's basically what's happening at the moment. And they've been to, yeah, it's really fun here. I'm at university in Cornwall in England, and having a really great time. Everyone's really nice. It's a really cool project. We're basically the course is basically based around wildlife photography and videography, and yeah, been making short films, having a great time. So lots of editing, lots of drinking. Of course, it's uni, but
Of
I'm going
course.
to try and stay awake too. I maybe had too much last.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the drunk text the other day. So
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, getting good memories right now. I'm not gonna lie, it's very nostalgic.
yeah, how it is. It's how it is.
Oh God. Well, you have to do it while you can, Nick. You have to do it while you can.
It's
Yeah.
got to be done.
It's
Nick,
got to be done.
how old are you?
I'm 24, so
Oh,
I
okay.
used to be 8, so but you got to catch up with the time. So yeah, pretty
Yeah,
cool.
no. Yeah. I
Yeah,
just turned
nice one.
27, so it makes me feel better. The huge age gap with Chris and everything. It's
Yeah,
like at least
Yeah.
two young
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
can get along and
It's okay. I'm like 637 years old, but I'm a Highlander, so it doesn't matter. It's
it's true.
fine. It's all good. Um, yeah, so after that, that's awesome. You guys are having a great weekend off. I'm sweating my balls off here in the Amazon. It's all good. Just standard fare. So at this point, I guess this is normally when we would bring on a guest, right, Nick and Michela? And
Mhm.
in this case, you are the princess of this podcast,
Oh,
Michela. You are
what?
the you're the guest because me and Nick got to tell about his like idiotic story with leaving his boots on in his bed, and I got to talk about pissing in my eye. So there you go. We've already talked about our stories. So it's your turn, Michela, to talk about yourself
good luck
and
with
the cool
that.
stuff that you've done. Yeah, and then after that, to hit us with your stories. But before we get to the really fun stuff, give us all the exciting information about the world of turtles. Which,
Wow.
not being sarcastic, they are super cool.
Yeah,
Thank you
tell us.
very much. Absolutely. Turtles are the best species in the world. You're right. I do want to be introduced every podcast. So as a princess of the podcast, I feel like that should not change.
Yeah,
feel like that should be my
uh,
alias. Yeah,
I think we can live with that.
I
I
think
like
so.
that.
Yeah.
stand
I,
by.
I'll make a crown. Don't worry, guys. It'll be great. Um, so yeah, my name's Michela Corey. People call me Mick. I've been trying to teach you guys how to say my name correctly, so it is Michela. Just want to remind you guys one more time. But
I've been okay so far.
you've
I've
been
been
doing
okay so
good.
far.
Yeah.
Michaela, I've
No.
been doing great. I've been doing
Mm-mm.
great. Yeah.
No.
No, sorry.
Knew it
Yeah.
was going to happen. Anyways, yeah, so born and raised in Michigan. Originally, I started my life in the fisheries field. I've always just had a love for being outdoors, that traditional, I want to be a marine biologist kind of person. And then that transitioned to freshwater fisheries. And then suddenly I decided I want to, hate my life a little more and go into a master's degree. And then I actually had started out in fisheries. The advisor and I that I had started off with, we just didn't, see eye to eye in certain things. And then I got an opportunity to work with turtles, and that's kind of where my life has taken me so far. So I graduated with a master's in herpetology. Specifically, I worked with a really cool turtle called the spotted turtle, which I can tell everyone about because people like to say I'm the world expert, and I'm not going to say I'm not, but um, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I finished my master's on spotted turtles, and now I work mainly with turtles. So now I work at a zoo as a conservation biologist, and we do a myriad of projects where we work with box turtles, wood turtles, all the Metidae species. We do a lot of species demographic surveys. We do tracking, nesting surveys. So right now, I am in charge of all of those field projects. I coordinate a lot of other herpetology projects, especially with our state, specifically those that are endangered. And yeah, I've had a wild ride. I've kind of traveled and lived different parts of the world, studying different species outside of turtles, even though I am, as you can see, my wall of turtles. I do have a wall of turtles. It's, well, ignore the sturgeon, but look at all those turtles. I'm the turtle queen. Actually, I want to be known as a turtle queen. Just kidding, not the podcast princess. You can
Can't have,
refer to me as both. It'll be
We'll
can't,
good.
just go back and forth. Depends
Yeah.
on the week.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I do. I've been very fortunate to have such an adventure in life so far with just all my experiences working with sturgeon to turtles to Atlantic salmon to working out in the Gulf of Mexico for 2 weeks at a time on red snapper and grouper. Yeah, it's been pretty great. So yeah, that's kind of like my background is I'm just a cold-blooded reptile slash fish person, which resonates pretty well with my personality too. So just an
Nice,
ectotherm
nice.
at heart.
That's awesome.
Um, No, that's awesome. That's super cool. And I do love turtles, really do. I'm not just like the turtle kid, like, I love turtles, but I do really love turtles. And I feel like the rest of the world's kind of deprived of turtle action. We're pretty lucky in North America
Oh, I
to have
know.
so many species. But I guess not to bring a too serious a tone to the show, but I mean, since you're an expert and you're the guest at the moment, I'm going to treat you like a guest. So I want to, pick your brain for some knowledge and expertise. Um, so obviously turtles, we have a lot of species in North America, but we also have a lot of problems with turtles in North America.
Hmm.
I know that for me in Ontario, all 8 species we have are threatened or endangered in the province. And yeah, I wondered if you could give a little information about, I guess, how the population. I'm just curious. This is purely, sorry for everybody else. This is purely an Ontarian asking someone in Michigan. So I'm curious how that population in Michigan is. And then maybe you could speak a little bit to some of the issues that turtles are facing in I guess, in the Northeast, but maybe you can expand
Sure.
upon it just to give us some background on turtles, because yeah, you're the first turtle expert we've had, and I do love turtles.
Yeah, sure. So in Michigan, we have many similar species to Ontario, especially as Michigan butts right up to Ontario too. So right now in Michigan, we have about four that are considered either a species of special concern or threatened. And for those who don't know, meaning it's just those are turtles that populations have declined rapidly. And though they're not federally listed, we are attempting to get those listed. So the major species of concern in Michigan and a lot of the Northeast are the eastern box turtle, the Blandings turtle, the wood turtle, and the spotted turtle. And so those are pretty much the four big head honchos in the Northeast. And right now, a lot of people don't realize how important turtles are, but what is causing their decline. And it's a myriad of things that are linked to anthropogenic effects, so human-induced effects, right? So one of the biggest things right now, of course, and this is pertains to most animals, is habitat fragmentation, urbanization. We're seeing a lot of animals that are really dependent on specific habitats, such as like isolated wetlands like prairie fens, bogs. And as we're growing in urbanization, we're seeing those wetlands are being drained or fragmented. So those turtles are either having to move really, really far from one wetland to another, or they're just, they're lost of the habitat. They don't have places to nest and they'll starve, die, won't have places to hibernate, things like that. I shouldn't say hibernate, I should say overwinter to be more scientifically correct. But yeah, so the turtle species that I studied, which is the spotted turtle, their populations have declined so they're native to the northeastern seaboard of the United States, from around Maine to almost the top of Florida, parts in the Midwest, which includes Michigan and Ohio, and then just the southern portion of Ontario. In Ontario, obviously, they are federally endangered, but in Michigan, they are not. Which is really a cause for concern because overall the populations have declined by around 50%. In Michigan, over 50%. They used to be in around 44 counties, and they're now in around 12, maybe. And unfortunately, despite the decline of a lot of these turtles, there just is not enough funding, and so we are finding problems with finding funding to preserve these populations, especially because they're not federally listed. They don't, people are not going to be offering scientists and researchers money to preserve the ecosystems that they inhabit. So, and then other causes of decline, actually, which is a fun one, is raccoons. Mesopredators are huge, and they
Yeah.
affect sea turtle populations. But what we've seen is huge events of nest predation. So I actually just went to the Turtle Survival Alliance conference, and I watched a interview that talked about, or not interview, sorry, a presentation that talked about how drought really has been affecting increased rates and causing increased rates of mesopredation, because you have these omnivorous species like raccoons, possums, skunks that normally will, they'll eat berries, they'll eat corn, they'll eat, vegetation. But when it dries out and you don't have enough water to grow those types of vegetation, they're going to rely on other sources of predation. So suddenly we're seeing this year we went through a big drought, like Chris, you guys did too. We saw a mass amount of predation, and not only are you seeing nest predation, but you're seeing for the turtles that I studied, I saw probably like 20 empty shells, and what they do is they just take out the turtles. And so, yeah, and it's crazy. A lot of people don't realize that it's the animal's fault, but it's not at the same time because we are causing subsidized predation, right? Raccoons have more access to our backyards, to our trash cans, to food. So they're starting to localize in these areas or cornfields. And because they're so smart, suddenly we're seeing you have a male that may be teaching or a female teaching their kits, hey, this is how I get my food. So that's actually a huge problem. And then lastly is poaching, illegal trade. We have to, whenever I do studies, especially with endangered turtles, I have to be really careful about what I'm posting, where I'm posting it, no locations, because these turtles, there was a study done by a colleague of mine on the spotted turtle population, actually in Ontario and Georgia Bay. And she was just a little bit too specific about the population. And these trappers came and they took like most of the turtles. They just took them all and then they sold them. So I am working with other colleagues on a project, hopefully with iNaturalist, and this is in the making. We talked to iNaturalist once. I don't know how far this is going to go, but we're talking about doing an AI kind of thing where we have huge confiscation events. And we can use AI to match whether, if I'm a researcher and I post pictures to AI to say, hey, this is my turtle, this turtle right here matches the picture of the turtles that were confiscated, and we can return them back to their proper areas. So, yeah, so that's something. Cool. Yeah, super cool. It's in the works right now, and I actually need to get back onto that project and work on it a little bit more. So many busy things.
I was going to say too, just to add to that, I mean, one of the other issues, at least in Ontario, that's really big for turtles is road mortality and collisions with turtles crossing and basking. It's a huge problem. I know whenever I go to Ontario, I'm often there in late May and June during point counts for birds, and I'm in wetlands for the birds, but that means I'm around turtles, and I must save 10 to 20 turtles at least in a month minimum, probably sometimes more. And the thing is that I would say is good is where I work in Eastern Ontario, there's a not-for-profit called the Ontario Turtle Trauma Center, which has been working now for, I guess, 10 to 20 years. I'm not sure the exact amount of time. And they do some really good work with rescuing the turtles and actually, emergency care and rehabilitation and release projects. But because of them, and also just because of the general, awareness that's been raised about turtles and the issues facing turtles, and because turtles are super cute and awesome, the general public consensus has really turned a lot, at least I can say in Ontario, where people really are aware of them. A lot of people who live in these cottages and drive in these highways on the weekends, when a lot of these mortalities occur, are now trying to slow down and trying to help these turtles. And I've seen people stop traffic to get out and move a turtle. And
That's
obviously
great.
There's still people who are terrible humans who try to hit them for fun, and those are terrible people. But still, there's way more people that are good and care, and I think that's a positive takeaway as well. And it's a good example that if you get the word out about animals, there's some bad people in the world, but there's still lots and lots and lots of good people, and if they know how they can help, a lot of people will try to help. So for me, that's also a really positive takeaway with turtles in general as well.
Yeah, and to add on to that, Chris, I completely forgot. I was like, oh yeah, that's another thing that's causing. There's so many things.
A lot,
But I have a colleague of mine that he's starting this project where it's also with iNaturalist, and he has these transects where people will walk the road and they'll observe any turtle mortalities to kind of get ideas of hot spots of where these turtles are being hit. And so that has gotten a lot of traction with public engagement and a lot of public interest. And so that spreads a word too. And so we've been kind of doing connectivity maps to see, all right, where are these hot spots? What are the local wetlands? And then what are ways that we can prevent these turtles from, getting hit? And so that is either, roadside barriers, underground tunnels. We've tried, there was a study that had like, you have the deer crossing signs. They tried
Yeah.
that and actually increased mortality events. So don't do that. That's a fun thing to
Okay.
know.
Why? Why do you think it was? Does anyone know?
I don't know. I wonder if people were looking at the sign going, oh, wow, interesting. And then just, not paying attention, lost in a daydream of gotta not hit those turtles. Or maybe what does that, sign mean? I don't know. I'm an airhead, so that could have been, that's my thought process. Sometimes I look at signs and I'm like, huh.
Oh man.
Wow.
Mhm.
I just had a question, Michaela. As obviously
Yeah.
that was a lot of like, rightfully so. It's the reality, a sort of negative side of it, of what turtles and sort of their face and their threats.
Hmm.
What successes have you seen, or any sort of success stories that you may know or have done yourself or been involved with, and sort of like why are turtles still being looked at in a. I'm trying to word this in a way that doesn't sound like why are we not getting rid of them, but as in like why are you still motivated to do so? But you must have seen some sort of progress, results, that sort of thing. That makes sense.
Yeah. So something that really does motivate me, or what I would consider a success story in terms of turtle conservation, starts back at home at my job at the John Ball Zoo. And to reiterate, I work in their conservation department, and it's funny because when people hear I work at a zoo, they automatically think I'm a zookeeper or maybe I work in education. But a lot of people don't realize is that more zoos are creating conservation departments, which is fantastic. And although I do occasionally get to work with some of the zoo animals, and I was a zookeeper in the past, my main prerogative is towards Great Lakes species conservation. And that includes not just turtles, but species such as sturgeon, freshwater mussels, and butterflies as well. And so our conservation department is around 3 years old, and it's been spearheaded by my boss, Bill Flanagan, to success. And he's done a remarkable job in creating programs that focus on Great Lakes species, such as our Poweshiek skipperling population augmentation project, our juvenile sturgeon recruitment surveys that we collaborate with other organizations, and a lot of our turtle research. And so we have three big turtle projects that focus on threatened turtle species within Michigan and in the Great Lakes region. And one of them is our Eastern Box Turtle Head Start program. And this program has been ongoing within the last 5 years, and it's been in collaboration with Grand Valley State University, where I got my master's, and Pierce Cedar Creek Environmental Institute. And so the whole goal behind this project is to increase juvenile recruitment of eastern box turtles as their populations have been declining severely in the last couple of decades. And so what we have done is we've found a population that is in need of help, and we have tracked the female box turtles and taken the clutches and reared those clutches in an environmentally controlled facility. So we control their climate, their diet, their nutrient intakes, and then we monitor them for almost a year until they're ready to be hard released back into the wild. And so then we track them using telemetry and compare their survival rates and look at their behavior compared to the wild hatchling to see how they do and how successful our program is. And what we have found is that our growth rates, the turtles' growth rates are accelerated, and they're almost 2 times the size of a wild hatchling at the same age. And so when we track them, we have found that their survival rates are a lot higher, and they seem to adapt pretty well in the wild, similar to the wild hatchlings, and they have very similar home ranges and habitat selection, and just movement patterns in general. And so this program has been very, very successful in terms of restoring a population and making it viable again. And so our second project that we focus on is our spotted turtle demographic survey. And spotted turtles were, again, the center of my thesis. And unfortunately, in Michigan, there's a paucity of information on spotted turtles in terms of their ecology, their habitat selection, home range, and overall just where they are. And so the whole goal behind this project is we collaborate with Michigan Natural Features Inventory and also other universities in terms of finding out where are these populations, what kind of habitats are they inhabiting, so it kind of gives us a better information of where to look for them in the future. And then we're able to gather genetic information, demographic information, survival rates, mortality, and much more. And we're able to take that information and overlay that to land managers. So it gives us gives them an idea of what kind of habitats they're occupying, how to preserve those habitats, and then overall just how to preserve their and conserve their populations and prevent them from further decline. And then lastly, we have our wood turtle nesting survey program. And similar to box turtles, they suffer in juvenile recruitment. And a big cause of this is from mesopredation and nest predation mainly. And we focus on a population where nest predation is 100% most years, which is pretty sad and a harsh reality for many turtles. And so what we do is we find female wood turtles, adult wood turtles, and we track them using telemetry until we find them ready to nest in the summer. And then once they are done nesting, we box those nests or cage them so that it protects them from mesopredation from raccoons, coyotes, possums. And that gives those hatchlings a chance to actually hatch and survive and overall thrive in the wild and increase that juvenile recruitment. So overall, those are the three main projects that I find are really inspiring and successful in my eyes in terms of turtle conservation.
Oh, that's epic. So yeah, thank you very much for that. I think that was really useful information, and I'm sure that answered Chris's questions with all the turtle related news, the Queen of Turtles, as you say. So,
Yes.
um, I think it might be time for you to introduce your story. So,
I think
what
so.
us, and basically, I'm just going to let you go through it and see what happens.
Oh man, I got so many. It's terrible. I was like spending all weekend. I was like, which one do I tell? And it's, as you are in this field, as everyone knows, like you start talking to everyone and you're like, wow, that happened to you, but let me tell you about this happened to me. And it's crazy
Yeah.
how much all the crap and the bullshit we have to endure as biologists, like because you're out in the middle of nowhere and then suddenly you have people coming up and you're like, what are you doing? And it's just some homeless man smoking crack in the corner and he's just been watching you, you find out for the last 3 weeks. Because that's definitely happened to me. Not you guys? Oh, okay. Yeah, so when I guess the biggest thing is when I remember I was all fisheries, so I dealt with boats before and everything like that. So transitioning into turtle work, I started doing telemetry where I was out alone in a field by myself every day. And so when I started it, my field site was in a state game area where a lot of people don't know. It's where a lot of people go and do meth. And it's a very good isolated place for people just to hang out and do their drugs and do their things. And what?
Where was that again? Oh, jeez.
You can send them a Google link. You can send them a Google link.
Listen, it's like I got you. Don't worry. I got other good spots, Nick.
Oh man.
But anyways, so I remember I just started my field work and I remember my advisor, she was like, "All right, you're off on your own." And I was like, "Oh, I'm by myself." Oh, okay. So I was like, "This is gonna be great. I'm gonna, bond with the turtles. I'm gonna bond with nature. Everything's fine." And so I started parking, and there's like this nice long 2 track, and I started parking there, and there was this lady that would parked next to me, and I just kind of figured I'd let her do her own thing. She's not bothering me, I'm not bothering her, and so I go on the field and I come back, and one day I realize she's passed out in the car, and so her dog's whining and everything, and so I was like, okay, I gotta go run up and make sure she's okay. So I go up to her car and I start banging on the window, and she's completely passed out, and she gets up and she stares right through me like I'm a ghost, and then puts in reverse and tries to run over my foot, and I would jump out of the way, and I was like, oh god. And I was like, are you okay? I was like, I was concerned about her, right? So I like jump out of the way, and then she tries she tries to hit me. She just goes and tries hitting me, so I have to tuck and roll and get into, roll in the forest. So that was like the first week. So I was like, okay, you know what, everything's fine. That's the only weird thing that's gonna happen to me. There's some lady on drugs is just gonna hit me with her car. Not a big deal. So anyways, the next week I'm out there, and so I was conducting telemetry where we have a radio receiver, and each turtle has its own little transmitter, and the receiver emits out a signal for each turtle. So anyways, I'm looking kind of like a wacko with TV antenna out in the middle of this giant fen, and it's encompassed by this big forest. So the receiver, they emit these beeps, and so I put it to my ear, and that's what I'm really listening to. And I keep feeling like whizzing going by my head. And I kept thinking, there's these damn soldier flies that keep following me all fucking day. It's horrible. So I'm just kind of ignoring it, but I kept feeling this whizzing, and I was like, okay, this is absurd. So I put down the telemetry box from my ear, and I realized I'm hearing gunshots in the background. And I was like, oh my God. And then I feel another right, like going right by my ear. So I realized, and I have an orange backpack on, right? You know, I'm like, they have to see me. And so I start calling, I was like, hey, you fucking idiots, someone's out here. Because I'm mad and I'm freaking out. And then they kept shooting, and the bullets kept getting closer and closer. So I go onto my hands and knees. So funny thing, Michigan has one venomous rattlesnake, or snake in general. It's the Eastern Massasauga rattlesnake. So I'm texting my advisor. I was like, I have a couple more turtles. And she's like, get out of there. Like, are you kidding me? I was like, yeah, I should probably get out of there. So I start army crawling back as they keep shooting the field. I think they were target shooting, and they must have just been shooting out in the fen, and they couldn't, I'm hoping they couldn't see me, or they were just, you know, just hateful towards biologists. So I start crawling on my hands and knees, and then suddenly I see something slither right in front of me. And I stop because it's like right in front of my fingers is this big male Massasauga just decided to come out and look at me and say hi. And he's like, maybe I'll give you a little kiss or something. I don't know. And so I'm just sitting there looking at this guy. My heart's racing. I was like, either I can get up and get shot or get bitten by our only venomous snake, because I'm that lucky. And so finally it kind of moseys on its way away, and I like crawl the forest, and I just get out of there. And I was like, oh my God, what a day. So I was like, okay, I can do it. I can still keep going out by myself. You know, I'm a strong, badass woman. So I had this mindset. I was like, I'm not shaken. This is fine. So anyways, the next week, wearing bright orange, I'm like, okay, you're going to see me. Everyone's going to know. It's fine. And so I actually had a really good day. I was like, this is great. So I'm all packing up. And so in springtime in Michigan, people look for morels. It's like a really like a delicacy. It's a mushroom that you can cook with. So I had heard that in the area there were morels. So I'm leaving the big fen, and I'm getting into the forest, and I have my telemetry gear in my backpack, and I have like a little tiny morel knife, and I'm looking around, and on the outside of the forest and the little forest line, there's a truck, like it was just probably an old F-150, started sputtering. It stopped, and I was just kind of paused, and I was sitting there. I was like, I'm sure it's just checking out. And this man gets out and starts screaming at me, and I could barely see him. I could see his outline, but I was just like, oh, I'm sure it's nothing, right? And then I started making out what he was screaming at me, and he was telling me to get out there, otherwise he'll kill me. And I was like, what? Oh, okay. And then he's like, I'm going to kill you right now. And then he got his dog out, and I saw his outline, and I heard him start running. And so I freaked out, and I'm like clutching my knife, my tiny little knife, so hard. And I start sprinting the other way, and I hear him running after me. And then unfortunately I got clotheslined because my telemetry gear was in the backpack, and I hit a tree branch, and it clotheslined me. So I slammed to the ground. And this guy, I don't know if he was drunk or on drugs, but he was not making any sense. But I just remember hearing, I'm going to kill you. And I was like, oh, I don't want to die. And so he finally, I think he gave up. And so he called his dog back into the truck, and he hops in the truck. And I think he was still looking for me because he started sputtering along the 2-track to where my car was. And fortunately in that area, there's people who park there all the time. So there were multiple cars. So I again, army crawled to my car. And I remember just sitting there on my hands and knees, watching this truck stop in my truck. He gets out, looks around, and then waits for a while, and then finally gets back in and starts sputtering away. And I remember I just jumped into my car and turned on the engine, and I just booked it out of there. And yeah, that was probably the 3 most craziest events during my field season, during my master's. So
Wow.
yeah.
I think the best part about the story, it's amazing. But I have to say, my favorite part is watching Nick's reaction to all the gunshots and crazy people, because he doesn't know the States, right? He doesn't know the great United States of America. And he's just like, what? No. oh my god, and it's
I know,
just so
it's
funny
so
because
funny.
I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
I
okay, it's just another day in America. But
Right.
Nick's just like, what? That was so funny. I love it. Oh man.
I,
What?
I was like, I thought you meant fireworks when you heard the shots.
You're like, oh yeah, it's 4th of July right now. People are just shooting off fireworks at this crazy girl. No, yeah,
That
I
is actually,
mean,
I'm not too familiar with it. I know about it, but it's actually interesting to hear someone who's had real world experience with that. Because
mhm.
you
Yeah.
hear it in like online and stuff, but to actually like hear about that is really mental.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. It's so funny because like I just kept going out there because I had to go out by myself, and I was a little shaken up for a bit, so I grabbed someone with me for a while. But like, I hate to say it, I'm like, it's just another day here. You're like another crazy experience with guns in America, and yeah, it's just kind
Oh,
of some things that happen
Well,
here.
I mean, with those comments, we may have just lost the NRA crowd, but I'm pretty sure we can handle that. I think we're okay on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
God,
well, that was great. I very good, Michela.
fully
That was
engaged with
awesome.
what can I
Yeah,
say? I got a
yeah,
whole
very
pocket
good.
of them if you guys ever need any more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's also true. I bet most of them involve people because the scariest animal in the field is usually a human. There's nothing I'd be scared to run into in the field except a person. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I
that's pretty much.
it was funny because well, when I was doing my field work for my master's, obviously it's a rare turtle that is very vulnerable to poaching. And I remember I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to tell people if I'm out here and they're going to be asking what I'm doing? And if I say turtles, they're going to ask what turtles. And I was like, I could say painted turtles. And then I was like, well, people are going to wonder what the hell this TV antenna is. So I came up with this elaborate story of was looking for aliens, and I remember seeing someone in the field, and actually he's a friend now, he's a fellow herper of mine who knew about the field, but I saw him and his son. I've never met him before, and I saw these two guys coming out to me, and I'm out there, and so I was like, oh my god, I was like, they're gonna think I'm looking for something on the ground. I was like, so I so I saw them, so I started pointing my telemetry gear to the sky, and I started walking around. I was like, I'm just looking for aliens here, please don't come talk to this crazy lady. And then I ended up kind of knowing who they were and stuff. They're just some fellow herpers, but I was just like, don't ask. And I was like, I'm just looking for aliens, and hopefully they'd be like, scared enough to walk away after that. Because yeah,
you got to stereotype America more with your stories
I
today.
know, right? I got
Yeah, yeah.
Look
stereotypical.
great.
And Nick, this is Michigan. This isn't even Florida. You just
I
wait.
Oh my
Wait till I
God,
get
yeah,
people on from Florida.
I never
Wait till I
I
get
watched.
the
got some
Florida
good
people
people
on.
for that.
Yeah. That's gonna be next level. Trust me.
hmm
So.
Jeez.
Well, that was fantastic. I guess that's probably wraps up
Yeah.
the second episode essentially. Um, so yeah, we kind of already know what the third episode's going to be because of the way sometimes this is how these things, the magic of recording happens. And next week we're going to be. I actually am going to be floating in a river talking to my two good friends Fabian and Lucas. I'm not going to talk about their last names because I'm going to butcher them because they're German and Austrian, so I won't even try. But Fabian's a good friend of mine. I've known for about 5 years now, and he's an amazing wildlife photographer and biologist, and works with Wilderness International, which is one of the organizations I work with here in Peru. And Lucas is an amazing videographer and content creator, and now he's actually working with Wilderness as well to help raise their profile and raise more funding for conservation. So really good friends of mine, and we went on an expedition a little while ago now. But when we were doing this expedition, we got the chance to record an interview there. It was really good background for their interview, I guess you'd say. So next episode, we'll all catch up again, I guess, and talk a bit about the interview that's coming up, and go from there.
Yeah, can't wait to talk about that one. So Chris has got the actual video in place with him in there, but we're gonna have a little chat beforehand for catch up, and I'm really looking forward to that one. I think we all are. It was
Yeah,
a really obviously I've seen it and it's brilliant. So looking
yeah,
forward to that.
Me
And
too.
any future too. I mean, we're really excited about this. It's been a little bit of work trying to get it together, but I think it's pretty seamless considering. Don't you guys think? I think it's been quite good to be fair.
yeah.
Pretty good.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's good, guys. It was awesome.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, look out for some cool guests, and yeah, we can't wait. So any closing thoughts, Michela?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be on this podcast and to co-host with you guys and get some guests on here that I think will really mesh well with our personalities, has some great
Mhm.
stories, and talk more about conservation in the field. And hopefully get some people from Florida on here because I think that'll be some great stereotypical, U.S. stories right here for all the crowds. So it'll be great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
mutual for it.
Oh man.
All right. Well, sounds good. I guess we'll see each other soon. And to the viewers, yeah, we'll see you guys next week as well.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely. Thanks for listening. It's been great. Really enjoyed that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome, guys.
See
Ciao.
Bye.